Hi! Welcome to Basically Complicated.
I'm just making sure it's recording. Continue.
Hi! Welcome to Basically Complicated.
Complicated.
We are here complicated. Ding, 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 ding. That's our theme song. We are here to discuss many different topics. I am Evan. I'm once again introducing us because we never do that. I am Evan. This is Julie. That is Mark. And this is Bea. And we are going to discuss this time around.
Be off.
Jalal
Nice
and
me.
Mark. We are going to discuss this time around a topic of my choosing because I had a crazy high school growing up. And so this is crazy stories that happened in school. Period.
School.
I also was homeschooled, and I'm not counting that.
You were homeschooled too?
Until high school.
Whoa.
I know. Aren't I embarrassing?
He doesn't mean it, Mom.
Because we know you're
Homeschoolers
watching.
are cool.
Thanks. We turned out okay.
We're alive.
And so are public school kids.
I was that
I
too,
was
technically.
half public, but
I know.
Oh,
I
so
was.
that was
I was
awesome.
coming back
Oh,
too.
gosh,
No, but I
sorry.
turned into that.
Myself.
and that's how we met. School.
I have a master's degree.
Ah, frick, I don't.
Me too.
Do you?
I'm dumb.
I know. Mark with the, I have a master's degree.
Anyways. Anyways.
But you did go to a crazy school. I remember your stories from college. Your high school was insane.
It was real nutty. Because I grew up in Niles, which is just... Oh, I'm going to a high school reunion soon. Sorry, everyone. It was...
Do you want to go to the reunion? Keep going.
This is what I think. I think it would be entertaining. There's a few people that I actually would be okay to see. Because it's like, I think you turned out okay. But I didn't really meet those people until like the very end. Because no one liked me until I was like... last half of senior year, and then also people were like, "Oh, Evan, you're actually kind of cool," and I was like, "I've been trying for so long." So, yeah, there's a few people towards the end, and there's a couple people who are like, I want to see more how they turned out, out of curiosity.
Sure.
How did these people end up in life? And
Yeah.
maybe they would be interested with me too. But
Gotcha.
yeah, it's free food.
Yeah.
What else am I going to do? So, my school, this is the first thing that sticks out to me that I'm going to forever remember. I think this was senior year, first day, back from summer, and I had a English class. What was it called? Was it creative writing? It was something like very elective sounding, but it counted as an English class because no one cared. And so it was the first day, and it was like, we had block scheduling, so we had 4 class periods and then lunch period every day, and then you would switch every other day or whatever.
And how big is your school?
I graduated with about 220, so not huge,
Yeah.
but it was big enough,
Yeah.
for a lot of weird things. And Niles is just kind of like a trashy place. Not like actual literal trash, but there's just trailer parks everywhere. So
It's like an
people-
armpit.
Kind of. Like, a lot of people know Niles, Michigan, and I'll be like, they're like, oh, yeah, I know that place. And I'm like, that's because you pass it on the way to Chicago. And that's literally the only reason. Other than that, there's nothing.
Yeah.
So there's just, it's not wealthy. There isn't like a high class. Like, everyone is kind of the same playing field when it comes to finances and demographic or whatever. But the first day... walking into this class, it's like the third period, so, like getting towards like 11, later than that, like 12-ish in the day, and the teacher like starts talking, and like, I remember that she like didn't make sense. Like, she literally like was speaking nonsense in class, and we were like, what's happening? And like, eventually
high.
someone like raised it. She was like, "Oh, hey there, everyone! How's everyone going?" Like, would just like laugh, and we were like, "What is happening?" And she's usually a very normal teacher. Yeah, this is like all real. And eventually someone was like, "Are you gonna pass out the syllabus?" And she was like, "Oh, the syllabus, that's right," and like handed them out to everyone. And like, she was like, "Oh, great! Like, now I can retire." And like said like really strange things. Eventually she like whispered like a secret in my ear that was basically like, Christian, and I was like, yes, and she was like, pass it around. Seriously, like, this literally happened, and was speaking like actual gibberish, like words that don't make sense. She sent us out to get like a class, someone that was in one of her previous classes, to like find him and bring him back. And she was like, "Do you have my Homer Simpson? Homer, where's Homer?" And he was like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, no idea like what was going on. The next time we had class, she was gone. And she was gone for a few months. And I guess what ended up happening is that she had a nervous breakdown. And she literally, like, snapped. Like, I think she actually was having a stroke. But it was like an entire... Like, this is like an hour and 45 minutes of us being like, what's happening? And then, like,
my mouth is like...
That's what I'm saying. This was my school. And so, like... And she, like... I remember she came in... She was usually, like, pretty high energy... But then, like, was real mellow and, like, really calm.
When she
almost
came
to the
back?
Yeah, almost to the point of being like snail-like, noticeably, like
Yeah.
she would speak very slowly, and we were just like, "What's happening?" It was
Literally, you're describing my biggest fear.
having
That's
a
just
nervous breakdown.
snapped
She just
one day.
actually
Where's my
broke-
Homer Simpson?
Yes.
That is a fear.
Yeah, we like talked about it because I remember like around the school I was like, so something weird happened yesterday, and people were like, oh, and I was like, yeah, it was like this teacher, and they were like, yeah, a bunch of other people were saying, like it was like the whole day.
Wow.
It was weird. Another teacher hit the building with her car during
On
school.
purpose?
A teacher, yeah, actually, I think she was mad. Someone cherry bombed the toilet multiple times.
What's cherry bombing a toilet?
It's like a firework,
Oh,
and
okay.
you drop it in, and but it's a big boom.
It breaks the toilet.
It broke the like,
Big
destroyed it,
boom.
and like
Got
was
it.
like flooding the bathroom.
Big boom.
Big boom.
Following.
We still we still don't know how this happened, but someone
Some people say I'm a firework.
back boom. Yep. Someone pooped in the middle of the hallway floor, like in between class, something like that, and no one knows how it happened. Like to this day, people are still like, it was like everyone got out of class and was like, what's doing? Like, it's just like a little
Floor poop.
like it's like they didn't make it, and they just like that was their
Another
moment.
big fear of mine.
Another fear. Yeah, my high school was weird.
Yeah, Niles was crazy.
It was crazy. So many things happened.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Yeah, it was great. I have lots of stories.
How unique. I have a somewhat crazy story, but not as crazy as yours
That's
at all.
fine.
In
You
any
don't
way,
have
shape,
to
or
be
form.
like Niles.
Dang. So I grew up in a town called Grosse Pointe, and it was like an affluent area. Like, so I think that people just developed a little earlier. Like, the 6th grade girls were like doing things that, like, they just developed faster. I think there were more drugs, more parties, stuff like that, whatever. So I was like a nerd, and I remember there were the Catherines. So there was like 4 or 5 Catherines in our grade that were like the popular girls, and I was like, oh, the Catherines. And they were telling a story about how they went to a bar, and they were sitting up at the bar, and they had like cigarettes in their hands, and
How
they were
old?
like, we were in 6th grade. So
Okay.
like I don't know if they were like and so they had a photo of this. They took a photo because like they got in, and like I don't know if they were served a drink. Yeah, like an actual like a
Disposable camera.
disposable, and then it was printed out. This
Yeah,
was like
okay.
98
Yeah.
maybe. I was in 6th grade. So I remember my friend and we were like, oh my gosh, like we need to get that photo from their locker and like do something with it. Like we're going to show that the Catherines have done this terrible thing. And we literally got the photo out of their locker. We made like 300 copies of the photo, and we were going to like put it up places. I mean, we were never really going to do that, but we talked about it. I kept that photo, like the copies of them, because we like cut them into slits. I kept them until 7th or 8th grade. And then I was like, I'm not going to do anything with this. Like they were like turned around at the bar, and they like, I think they had a cigarette in their hand or something, and like I had planned to like I know it was dark, wasn't it? I think it's because I was
Every
like
one of your stories.
I know, but I was the dork, and I think I felt like I was gonna like show that like they were doing this whatever thing. Yeah, it wasn't good. It wasn't good that I was gonna do that.
That's crazy.
I know. So I never did. I never like blasted it. And they lost their photo.
I
'cause
question
had
how
it.
real it was.
Maybe.
Like the photo?
That's something
Sure.
Right.
I feel like my dad would have done, to be like, hey boys, like We're gonna go take a photo in this bar.
The problem is that I could see it because they were like all like beautiful girls that like were just, they looked too old. They looked older than they should look.
But they were
if that makes
sixth
sense.
graders.
Yeah, but they had like older sisters and they were all just like so perfectly. But this town just produced people that were like so
Old
like.
looking.
It was just like there was
Old
wealth,
people.
so they just looked like
Yeah.
whatever. And I was like, you're gonna get in trouble. Cause yeah, but maybe you're right. Now that you're saying that, I'm like, yeah, their parents might have just been like, get up there on the bar, girls. Like,
Put that
put
cigar
the
in
cigarette in your hand,
Here's a
Catherine.
candy cigarette that's fun for chewing.
But
Some
my-
needles and spoons.
My brain was like, they got drunk and they had cigarettes at the bar. Yeah, I sound like I was a sassy little girl, but I was. So there's that. The Lord redeemed me,
Well, sure.
and I'm not a
He
hateful.
redeemed all of us.
Yes, yes.
But
Me, no, I'm just kidding. Anyways, I think that was like one of the crazier things I remember.
yeah.
My toes under the table are doing this. I'm like, I can't wait for my story time to be over. Someone else.
Take this mantle from me, please.
Yeah. So I was homeschooled. So like nothing crazy happened in our home.
I mean, they could have.
I mean, no. But I went to a Christian school part time. But again, like the school was 50 people total in high school. So like the only crazy stuff was just high school gossip. It was just like, did you hear what Steve said to Sarah? It was like, yes, we all
At
did.
least 4 times.
We all heard it. But like I did like dumb things. This could probably be like another pod. I did like dumb things with my friends outside of school from that school. Like we used to break the law.
We used to do the breaking of the
We used to
law.
do the break law. The break law dance.
Break.
So like the big thing over Christmas break was that we would go to people's houses that had set up elaborate Christmas decorations and like move them around or
No, you didn't. I'm sorry.
oh no.
You broke law.
But we found one house that had a nativity scene that had it was light up, so like it's plastic nativity. So there's Mary, Joseph, Jesus,
Draw
light up.
mustaches on them. Well, you did
No,
No,
we-
it gets better.
So they had
Loved it.
animals, and one of them was a cow that was literally like glowing red. It was like Satan's cow. So like you have Mary and Joseph and Jesus are like this nice blue and like they're glowing so nicely, and it was like this bright red Satan's cow. So we were like we.
Yes, it actually made that.
There was a little. You pull the tail. Kind of.
It's like Satan's Santa cow.
Yes.
Like, he put-
Yeah.
Kind
Yes.
of.
Good
Good Christmas.
Good.
So we saw it just didn't fit in. It looked like they had bought the cow separately, and they were like, "This nativity scene needs a cow." So we were like, "You know what we should do? We should steal that." So we stole it, took it from their house, and I kind of had a crush on Julie at that point. But also, Julie's house was like, if you could prank Julie's house, it was like that's like you're the king of prankers because they were in this subdivision that was like well patrolled by like there were people like, in and out of all hours. So if you could prank the Schultz house, you'd made it. So we're like, we're gonna steal this glow cow, and we're gonna like find a way to position it at the Schultz house. And I was like, yeah, because I like her. So
Maybe she'll notice me.
she'll finally see. So we took the cow, unplugged it, took it in the car, brought it to the Schultz house, plugged it in, left it on the porch. The next morning, Julie texted me because I think we did it like a Friday night or something. So Julie texted me the next day, and she was like, "Did you guys leave a cow on our doorstep?" And I was like, "Sure did."
How did you know?
You know.
Yeah. It wasn't the first time we had pranked her house.
They TP'd it a while back.
Yeah, Julie had to clean it up.
She'll know I love her.
All by myself.
How did this happen? In reality.
A miracle.
He pursued. That's a whole other story for another time. But
Yeah.
he pursued me for a year before I said yes.
That's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine.
So Julie texted me. She said, "Did you leave the cow there?" I said, "Sure did." And she was like, "My parents said you have to bring it back."
They were pretty unhappy.
I was like-
And I was trying to play it super cool because I also kind of had a crush on Mark at the time, and I didn't want my parents to not like him.
But why?
So, he was one of the cool kids.
Because he
He
had
was
the cow.
cute.
He brought the cow.
He talked to me once.
Right, but don't you think though he was vying for a ring? You know, because like he was giving. You know, it's like when
This
you have
was
a
Demon Cow.
dowry.
No.
Like that was
Yeah.
Demon Cow was the dowry.
So the
know
summary
what
of the
I mean?
story is I had to drive to the Schultz house Saturday morning, pick up the cow. For some reason I couldn't drop off, like I had either had work or something, and I couldn't drop off the cow until Monday. But the problem was when we were driving around doing reindeer wrecking, that's what we call it, is we would reindeer wreck, because people have like those light up reindeer, so we would reindeer wreck.
I hate
High
you.
schoolers are awesome.
I hate you.
Of course. Everyone should. I do.
Oh god. Now it's sad.
So when we were doing that, I wasn't driving, and it was like 3 a.m. So I had no idea where we were, and I just didn't communicate with my friends to find out like, hey, where did we drop off? Like, where did we get this cow? So I took the cow and for hours drove around Holland, like trying to find where we would have gone, like trying to retrace our steps, and I finally found it. So it was like the middle of the day on a Monday, so like the family was going to be gone. So I walk up to the house, I leave the cow on the patio, like on the front door, and I like turn and look in the window, and there's like a little boy like on the phone, like looking out the window, like just looking at me. I was like, and I turned around and started walking away and hit a black patch of ice and fell and hit my elbow right in front of him. Didn't even turn around and look at him, just got in my car.
High school story.
Were you like, Lord, I got it. I
Had the
shouldn't have
walk
done
of
it."
shame back to my car. And God was like, that was your punishment. That was your spanking.
That was your,
I'm gonna
spanking.
humble you. I'm gonna humble you in this moment.
that was your moment.
This little kid's on the phone with the police or his mom, and you're gonna fall right in front of them.
Oh gosh.
So that's how I returned the cow back to its rightful place.
Liked that story.
He left me a cow.
I know.
No one else. No
my
one else has never
dowry.
left me a cow.
But it was for me.
Please accept his
Yeah.
proposal.
I was more like so torn because I was like, my parents can't know it was you.
Yeah. And it was probably more just from the standpoint of like, how can I spin this to a positive? What
thought of me?
What positive could possibly come from him stealing?
He does go to a Christian school.
Yeah, there's nothing. There's no redeemable
Did
quality
your
in that.
families know each other at this point?
No, but the crazy thing is our dads worked for the same company.
Never spoke to each other though.
They're in different departments.
Yep.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Crazy. So like we talked about it, and growing up, we would have been to the same company picnics at the same time, and had no idea.
tender.
Weird.
Isn't that
You
crazy?
should
You just never know.
fabricate a story and say like, I saw her. She was standing there by the watermelon.
And
had
I
some-
always knew.
And
She
I
had a
knew.
corn dog, and I knew it.
And I heard whispers on the wind that said,
Very juju.
Put a cow on her porch.
I love it.
And I did. And I did.
And Julie was with her cargo pants and was like, I'm taking this stuff home.
yes.
Cargo pants and baggy sweatshirts.
I was going to say her little bowl cut.
I was hoping you'd forget about that.
Nope, I
The problem
kept it
is,
in my
like,
brain.
we probably looked the same at that point. Like, I also had a bowl cut. We probably wore cargo pants and baggy shirts. So, like, our dads probably, like, confused us for each other. Come on, Mark. Oh, gosh.
Oh, sorry.
Oh.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, the only other, like, crazy thing, I mean, it leads into a crazier thing, but, like, I pooped in my bed once in college.
When?
Neurovirus.
Oh,
Wait, were you roommates at this point?
We weren't roommates. We were in the same building.
we're in the same building.
But so I wasn't the original. So the neurovirus had been going around for like 2 or 3 days, and it's right at the end of the semester. I think it's sophomore year in college.
Yeah, did
And-
you have to be quarantined?
He was the original.
Yeah, I
He
was
was
patient
patient
zero.
zero.
Same page.
I just want to start that rumor.
Yeah, like I remember, like it had been going on for a few days, and I'd felt like fine, but I remember being tired. But it was the end of the semester. I just like stayed up late doing a bunch of art homework and submitting projects. So I was exhausted, and I remember like laying in my bed thinking like, I kind of have to fart. You kind of feel it out.
If you can, do a little. Yep, there it is. I can feel that.
And I remember
It's kind of a shoulder. It's a lot of shimmy.
you gotta like position it right, and then you just kind of know.
I think I have to fart.
So I tried, and I did fart.
You never trust a fart, Mark.
I trust.
What do you
my
mean
farts.
by you never trust a fart? Does that mean you never just fart?
I do, but
You never
don't-
trust anyone?
Is this a social thing? No, it's just you never know.
You never know.
You know it's always a risk.
I think you mostly know.
Yes, I'm not saying
Right,
the
you
percentage
just
is
shouldn't
like
assume.
every time you fart, there's a 50% chance. But I mean,
you
like,
mean,
there's
like, if
always
you-
that little 2% that you're like,
yeah,
this
for
is
sure.
fine. It's not.
Yeah, but you know me. We live together. Sometimes you just gotta let it rip.
I get.
And I tried.
And what did we learn?
The neurovirus
can't-
hits quick. And you
So-
fire out both ends.
So my question is this: how much?
So
Oh, gosh.
thank God it was more of just like a like if you're trying to imagine like water guns. It wasn't like a super soaker. It was more of like a water
Like you
pistol.
only pumped twice on the water gun.
Exactly.
Zero pressure.
Exactly. Exactly. And like it was but
I mean, I've done that too.
I've only done
It's
that
fine.
once, and I am not going to talk about it.
I think you should.
I
think it's
can't.
time.
I told Mark I couldn't because it.
we don't need to talk about it.
Yeah, we can't.
Cool.
We can't.
But the problem was, so the
can't.
neurovirus
I'll tell you guys
spreads.
later.
It's very contagious. So people had it for 2 days. I had it
So
for
your
a day.
pants caught.
And then it like spread like wildfire through campus.
Yeah.
And it got to the point where people were like throwing up in their beds. I remember your roommate threw up in his
I
bed.
do because I had to go get him Sprite.
We had to go
And
wander
new bed
around
sheets.
campus to try to find Sprite.
They canceled graduation that year.
And it got to the point where like if you
Yes,
hit a
they
certain
did.
percentage of your student body gets a type of contagious sickness, you have to cancel graduation.
Yeah.
And it got to that point where they canceled graduation.
Did they like send you guys home, or they like get out of here? What did they do?
They just quarantined us to our rooms. They were just like, if you have it, just stay in your rooms. Because
yeah,
once like
don't leave.
if you
essentially.
leave, you're gonna bring it
Like
to your
they
family.
would-
They're gonna
yeah.
spread it to like
Right.
daycares and
Yeah,
grocery
it was
stores.
like,
Did they
don't
bring you
leave.
meals?
No.
I
Like,
don't
how would
remember.
you
No,
eat?
you
You
were
just
just like
dealt with it
told
because
to
I had to
just
get my roommate
stay.
a lot of things that couple of days.
So, if you had a roommate, did that roommate get to leave and find another place to be?
At that point, though, like if you're already in that room, then they probably already had it, and you're just
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
So like,
it happened
just
in
would spread.
Holland at Hope
Yeah.
College. They like had a quarantine where they literally like locked
Wasn't
the
that
campus down.
H1N1?
I thought it was the neurovirus. 'Cause
Yeah.
it's the
Oh,
same
maybe.
year.
I think it's one
And they
and the
told
same.
students like you have until like if you
Yeah.
don't have it, you have until Friday at noon to leave campus, or you're staying on campus for the rest of through the weekend into next week until we lift the lockdown. And so there were a bunch of people that were like freaking out and left home and ended up getting their families sick because they already had it.
Yeah.
So like you're supposed to just stay and work your way through it. But it's like I remember specifically one of the grossest moments, other than pooping in my bed. I remember like being in the community bathroom because like when you have the neurovirus, you're either in bed or you're in the bathroom. That's where you spend 50% of your time.
cramps.
It's the cramps. It hit you
That was me
hard.
trying to talk again, and I came out in a whisper.
The cramps.
Did you say the cramps?
The cramps.
Like the poop cramps?
Yeah, yeah. That's the worst part.
Yeah.
Cramps.
But I remember sitting in the stall, just spending my time, and there's a kid, like, I had no idea who this was, because I was sitting in a stall, the door's locked. Someone came into the bathroom, threw up in the sink, like, audibly, like, like, threw up in the sink, and then just walked out.
Gross.
Like, didn't turn the faucet on, didn't clean it up, and I remember, like, leaving the bathroom, like, it was so bad.
That's so
I have
bad.
no idea who that was.
Gross.
I don't think they'll ever share.
Yeah, he's not going to
They'll never
comment.
let us
He's
know.
not going to comment. It was me. I'm the sink thrower upper.
It was me.
Yeah.
Okay, well, school is fun, huh?
Yeah.
School is a good thing.
It's a thing.
Yeah.
Crazy things happen.
I'll just say on that note, my freshman year, I hung out a lot with like.
Wait, on
the...
that note, is it going to be about that? I'm done.
Well,
I
it's
can't handle
not like
this.
at school, but like I hung out a lot with like sophomores, juniors, and seniors. And
Freshman in
so-
high school?
Yeah,
Okay.
freshman in high school. And so they invited me to go sledding with them, and so I was super excited about it. And I'll keep it real short, but like I was so excited to be like hanging
With
out with
them.
them, and I was just so excited. And I had to use the restroom, and I just didn't want to leave because I was having so much fun and like hanging out with them, and I was trying so hard to hold it. And I remember sitting in the sled in like succession in the sled. And
Where were you in the position?
I don't remember.
Just letting
I
it
was
rain.
toward the back.
Wait, one or two? One or two?
One.
Okay.
But I just
I hope she was
holding some, no, just one. But like I was just having
She's feeling it
so
up.
much fun, and I
On
was
the
like,
sled.
I
okay.
think John Grams.
Oh, so all that to say, like I thought I could hold it, and then I started
And you
laughing
learned.
super hard, and I
Oh.
could not hold it, and I was sitting in the back, and I was completely mortified, and like I just tried to play it off like it was nothing, and like I just kind of rolled around in the snow a little bit, like oh, ha, ha, like I fell off the sled, and like trying to like clean it up, but I had to like I couldn't drive yet, so of course I had to like ride home with someone, so like I'm smelling it, and I'm like shoot, maybe she won't, but you're in like snow pants and like all this gear, and I thought
It's, like,
it
trapped
was just
in there.
mortified. It's,
Like,
yeah,
sucked
and
in.
so I thought I did an okay job hiding it, but like Mark knew about it and he wasn't there, so clearly people knew about it and they were talking about it, and I was more like, what do you do at that point? Like I was so embarrassed, but like I peed my pants in high school in front of the cool loaded kids.
Yeah.
At some point, it's like it could have maybe helped just to been like, I peed myself.
What up, sophomore the junior?
I did not have that.
I went down that slide.
I
There's
wish,
a whole
I
trail line.
so wish I could have done that because it would have made it so
Yeah.
much better.
Yeah.
But I did not know how to laugh at myself.
Yeah. That hurts. School
Yeah.
is school's hard for us. Huh? She's a hard one.
I'd do it again.
Nope.
Nope.
The-
It was
Anyway.
It was unbearable.
It was the worst thing I've ever done. Thank you for joining us. Hopefully your school was great and not crazy. It probably wasn't. It was still pretty bad.
Sorry,
That's
Catherine.
okay.
Share your craziest story.
Yeah. Okay, bye.
Okay, bye.
Okay, bye.